herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Hello, you made it to the Eugene Cannabis TV show, and it's either this evening or in the morning, depending on when you're watching the show, but I'm glad you made it. I want to talk to you some reminders, now some new information. I got the M scale, which is the flyer sitting next to me. The M scale is a rating system for medical marijuana that everybody can understand. It's getting everybody on the same, say, playing field, so to speak, to understand what a certain strain of marijuana is likely to affect people. And that way the grower, the caregiver, a doctor, all can understand it. It's a little complicated when you first learn the system, but once you look at it, it starts becoming clearer. But anyway, it's called the M scale, and there'll be some presentations on it, and I'll be making announcements on that. The people that come up with that put on different demonstrations, different organization meetings and get-togethers. So I'll be letting you know on that. And then we have the latest issue of the West Coast Leaf. The West Coast Leaf is out of California, and the Amsterdam University and all that crowd there. Excellent paper, even though it's California news, primarily it's still very interesting and has some good information on cannabis and especially medical marijuana itself. So you'd like a copy of that, you can go to about any of these events that you hear about, that we talk about. For instance, the Voter Power PRD, which is a Patient Resource Day. It used to be on Wednesdays and Thursdays only, but I'm proud to announce and happy to announce that now it's 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. It's a little confusing on the hours. Monday through Wednesday is 4 to 6. I think that's right now. I'm confused. But anyway, basically, if you're there at 5 o'clock any of the 5 days, you'll catch somebody there. That's the long and short of it. And then Friday, after the PRD, the Patient Resource Day, we have the potluck. And you're welcome to bring a dish to share, and we'll have special guests and or a movie. Last Friday we had the film What If Cannabis Cured Cancer? And unfortunately we were also busy networking with our guests that I don't think anybody watched the movie, so we still need to see it yet. But we had two guests that were actually working separately and has happened to show up the same night, and they both doing the same thing. Analytical testing of cannabis, testing for potency, cannabinoids, I can't pronounce, and then and also toxins. So it's quite a service, and it's really interesting to find out that that is available to everyone for safety, especially with medical marijuana patients. So that's the kind of thing. I believe I think the next Friday, I'm still tentative, but I believe we're going to have our friend Wayne that's developed a aeroponic system, parts that you can get from any building supply store and build it yourself. He has the plans, which he gives away freely. He's willing to help people. He's just a heck of a nice guy, and it's quite a system. So that's something to look into. We'll probably have him on the show at some point, also talking about that. And then there's the local newspaper, the Oregon Cannabis Connection. That paper is published by a friend of ours out of Medford. I think it's the 4th issue now, and they're going to be the sponsors of our local Emerald Empire Hemp Fest. So that's going to be exciting to have them on board this year. And two of the reporters were actually at our last potluck, and they're writing a story on our PRDs and what we're doing there. So it's all great getting the information out and just informing people, because with the cannabis culture, and there's a lot of people trying to be quiet and sneak around, and we have to keep reminding ourselves, hey, it's legal, we don't have to sneak around, so let's network and work together. That's what we're doing, and that's what we're all about. And I've got the Just Say No flyer here that I talk about, that you also, if you send us an email, I can send it to you electronically. It's a Word document. Has all the information, the local cannabis groups, and where you can get some help getting medicine, finding a grower, looking for patients, that kind of thing. A lot of good resources in there. The news I have tonight is mostly from out of state, but there's some very, very interesting stories that I rounded up. This one is out of California, saying therapeutic benefits without intoxication. This is out of San Andreas. Some people find the mind-altering effects of California relaxing, but for many others, the euphoria caused by ingesting too much THC, the primary active compound, is unpleasant. Sometimes it triggers anxiety attacks. Physicians say that is why even some patients dying of cancer who would benefit from the marijuana's anti-nausea and appetite-stimulating properties resist using the drug. Now those patients are finding new options, as the increasingly widespread testing of medical pot allows them to choose strains that contain less THC and more of another compound that has a calming effect. The anxiety-provoking compound is THC, and it is also the compound that causes euphoria that some marijuana users enjoy. The sedating compound is cannabidiol. I'm butchering that one again, abbreviated as CBD. The CBD, scientists report, not only offers pain relief and other benefits without the buzz, but also interacts with the THC to reduce its psychoactivity. That means that products delivering both compounds together can deliver benefits such as the anti-nausea effect of THC while reducing the mind-altering effects that some patients find objectionable. That is why CBD-rich products are getting talked about, said chemist Samantha Miller, the owner of Pure Analytics of Santa Rosa. They offer therapeutic benefits without intoxication. And again, that's what I was just speaking about. This lady does the same thing that these two gentlemen that I was just speaking of, running tests on THC content and CBD percentages and that kind of thing. Scientists say they've already found a number of beneficial uses for CBD. You can't get high off the compound, said Sean McAllister, a scientist at California Pacific Medical Center Research Institute in San Francisco, who studies the anti-cancer property of the CBD and other compounds in medical marijuana. Most medical research focuses on studying the effects of one chemical compound working alone. That's been the model for research since the early part of the 20th century. So anyway, they're still working on that and getting more and more information. That's another point about these newspapers. They'll have a lot of the information and good stories about that too. We've had the New York City. This is an interesting thing. We all could have seen this coming, but here it is. Mass arrest policy costs New York City big bucks. In a report released Tuesday, the Drug Policy Alliance charged the New York City's unwritten policy of mass arrests of pot smokers, overwhelmingly young and minority, is costing the city $75 million a year. The report, bluntly titled $75 million a year, the cost of New York City's marijuana arrests, was co-authored by City University of New York professor and marijuana arrest expert Harry Levine. Although New York State decriminalized marijuana possession in the 1970s, the NYPD has made it a practice to stop and frisk people by the hundreds of thousands a year and demand that they empty their pockets. While they produce marijuana from their pockets, they are then charged with public possession in plain view, a misdemeanor. The NYPD is arresting about 1,000 pot smokers a week and has busted more than 350,000 of them during Mayor Bloomberg's tenure in office. This is the same Mayor Bloomberg who once said he smoked marijuana and liked it. Bloomberg's and the NYPD's mass arrest policies cost the city big bucks in a time of economic difficulty. with Levine and his co-author Lauren Sagal, estimating the cost of arresting and prosecuting each pot possession offender at between $1,000 and $2,000. New York City has spent somewhere between $350 million and $700 million to persecute pot people while Bloomberg has been in office. This is the part I found really interesting. More people have been arrested for marijuana possession under Mayor Bloomberg than under Mayors Koch, Dinkins, and Giuliani combined, said Levine at a City Hall news conference Tuesday. These arrests are wildly expensive, do not improve public safety, and create permanent criminal records which seriously damage the life chances of young people targeted and jailed. So that's a lesson that we all pretty much knew about, but it's coming true. It just doesn't pay to arrest marijuana smokers, and there we have it in the dollars and cents. The state of Montana is having a heck of a time. They have their medical marijuana law, but there's a move in the legislature to repeal it, and also the DEA now is starting to raid their dispensaries. So it says here, a move to repeal Montana's voter-approved 2004 medical marijuana law died in a state Senate committee on a tie vote. The measure had passed the House, but members of the Senate Judiciary Committee said what was needed was regulation, not repeal. After the vote, committee chair Terry Murphy, Democrat Cardwell, appointed a 3-member subcommittee to work on a bill to tighten regulations over marijuana. But another legislative committee has already crafted regulatory legislation that is working its way through the legislature. Even as senators were debating the measure, the DEA and other federal law enforcement agencies, assisted by local law enforcement, conducted raids against at least 10 medical marijuana dispensaries or grow operations across the state. One business hit was the Montana Cannabis Greenhouse near Helena, where the company grows more than 1,600 plants to supply its 4 dispensaries across the state. The DEA and FBI, wearing respirators, conducted the raid while sheriff's deputies and Helena police stood guard. The company's 4 dispensaries were all hit too. The part about wearing respirators is what kind of tickled me. I guess they didn't want to go afraid of a contact high, maybe, I'm not sure. The Obama Justice Department in 2009 sent a policy memo to all U.S. attorneys directing them to not use their resources against medical marijuana patients and providers complying with state law in states where it is legal. But in Montana, as well as other medical marijuana states, including Michigan, Nevada, and Washington, dispensaries have opened without being explicitly protected by the state law. The Montana law allows caregivers to provide marijuana to patients and receive compensation, but does not mention dispensaries. The fix is in the legislature, as it was in Colorado. Excuse me. And one of the things that's excuse me, it's fairly heartening to me is this story here. Pennsylvania school districts sued over student drug testing. The ACLU and a Philadelphia law firm are suing 2 Pennsylvania school districts for maintaining random drug and alcohol testing of students who participate in extracurricular activities or who drive cars to school. The separate lawsuits were filed last week. The U.S. Supreme Court has held that random drug testing of student athletes or students involved in extracurricular activities does not violate the U.S. Constitution. But some state Supreme Courts, including Pennsylvania's, have found protections against random drug testing of students in their state constitutions. The lawsuits filed by the ACLU of Pennsylvania and the law firm Deckard LLP charged that the school districts have maintained student drug testing policies that violate a 2003 Pennsylvania Supreme Court decision holding that random drug testing of students is unconstitutional unless the school districts can show that the group of students being tested had a high drug use rate. So hopefully that goes the right way and try to back off from drug testing. I like to say the only people that benefit from drug testing are people that own drug testing companies or drug testing company stock. And in another case where law enforcement is above the law, here we have out of Massachusetts. The Framingham, Massachusetts SWAT team officer who shot and killed a 68-year-old man lying prostrate on his apartment floor during a drug raid will face no criminal charges. The killing of Yuri Stamps was an accident, according to a Wednesday report from the Office of Middlesex County District Attorney's Gerald Leone. The report named the shooter as Officer Paul Duncan, who was part of a SWAT team enlisted to take part in a drug raid aimed at Stamps' grandson, Joseph Bushwin. Police arrested Bushwin outside the home before kicking down the door, throwing a stud grenade, and ordering everyone on the floor. Stamps had obeyed and was lying on the floor when Duncan attempted to cuff and frisk him. As he stepped to his left, Duncan lost his balance and began to fall over backwards, the report said. Officer Duncan realized that his right foot was off the floor and the tactical equipment that he was wearing was making his movements very awkward. While falling, Officer Duncan removed his left hand from his rifle, which was pointing down towards the ground, and put his left arm out to try and catch himself. As he did so, he heard a shot, and then his body made contact with the wall. At that point, Officer Duncan, who was lying on the ground with his back against the wall, realized he was practically on top of Mr. Stamps and that Mr. Stamps was bleeding. Officer Duncan immediately started yelling, "Man down, man down." Numerous SWAT officers began calling for medics and alerting team members that there was a person down that needed medical attention. Officer Duncan told another officer on scene within moments of the incident that he had stumbled and lost his balance while moving to get a better position, and as he was falling, his gun fired. That was good enough for DEA Leone, who said, quote, "The conclusion of this office is that the actions of Officer Duncan do not rise to the level of criminal conduct, and the shooting death of Yuri Stamps was an accident." So we have another death because of drug raids, and the family is going to sue in civil court, he goes on to say. So we offer them the best of luck there, and we don't know how else to read in our law enforcement. It seems out of control in so many cases. Another thing out of Colorado, a little concerning, is the Colorado drug-to-driving bill. It's generating confusion and concerns. He says a bill aimed at stoned driving currently worked its way through the Colorado legislature, which set a, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, I did that story already. Nope, going into rerun here. And yeah, anyway, that's all we've got for tonight. So I need to wrap up here, and I want to remind you that the PRD, the Patient Resource Day, now is at Valley River, Monday through Friday. Just be there around 5. I think it's 4 to 6 Monday through Wednesday, and 5 to 7 Thursday and Friday, I believe. But anyway, like I say, if you be there at 5, any of those 5 days, you'll catch people. That Patient Resource Day, and they have medicine available for a small donation. They have medicine. They have an area where patients can medicate. It's a good place to network with other patients. If you need to meet people, you need to meet growers, or growers need to find patients, it's a good way to network. We have a bulletin board there. You can put notices up to help people work within the program. And then, of course, we have our potlucks on Friday night with some special guests. So keep in tune on that. Send a note, email into any of the email addresses you see on the screen, and we can get that information to you. So that's all the information I have for you this round, and we'll catch you next week. And remember, spring has sprung, but still be awfully careful. Never consent to a search. Thank you.
Are you tired of following all the rules? Ready to let loose? Have a little fun? Sounds like you need to. Get high. And with Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, you can. Narcomex values your business. That's why we're your #1 supplier of drugs, and you're our #1 consumer. These billions can't be wrong. We work hard for your business and have killed not 1, not 2, but 3 Mexican police and 2 journalists just to keep you high with that very joint. Why, our commitment to keeping you supplied has killed over 17,000 people right next door. Traffickers, soldiers, journalists, prosecutors, you name it. We're that passionate about your business. We've even begun to destroy some of your favorite tropical beach destinations. Because if you smoke enough at home, you don't even need a beach. But don't legalize it or grow it at home. Let us do the work for you. Sure, consumers boycotted evil companies, but there's no need to boycott Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, also offering heroin, meth, and cocaine. Narcomex Incorporated. Live a little, and forget others won't.
This group of chemicals has significant anti-tumor properties.
Now, cannabinoids kill cancer cells in many cases.
If they have anti-tumoral effects.
There's nothing else that impacts on so many of our illnesses.
We know that it kills cancer cells without hurting the non-transformed cells.
In recent years, the hemp plant has been proven to be anti-inflammatory, antispasmodic, and antibacterial. It can treat depression, traumatic stress syndrome, chronic pain, glaucoma, migraines, multiple sclerosis, Tourette's, nausea, and a host of other ailments without the unwanted side effects of pharmaceutical drugs. In the 1800s, medical journals published more than 100 articles on the therapeutic use of the drug, then known as cannabis indica, or Indian hemp. Cannabis was often prescribed by doctors and was part of every medical bag right through the early part of the century. It was a popular treatment for labor pains, asthma, rheumatism, and nervous disorders. It was even given to cranky babies to get them to stop crying. Dozens of major studies have been published in the last few years that indicate that the chemicals in cannabis, in the lab and in animals, have a significant effect on fighting almost all major cancers, including brain, breast, prostate, lung, thyroid, colon, skin, pituitary, melanoma, and leukemia cancers. They do this by promoting the death of cancer cells that have forgotten how to die, as well as a reduction in their crucial blood supply, while leaving healthy cells untouched.
There's nothing else that impacts on so many of our illnesses. You see, when I talk about these age-related illnesses, we're all aging, but we don't all come down with cardiovascular disease. We don't all come down with autoimmune disease. We don't all come down with cognitive dysfunction. We don't all come down with cancer. But the chances are we're going to come down with one of them. All right? And here we have this one drug that's able to help us holistically with our biochemistry to restore balance. You know, cannabinoids kill cancer cells in many cases. People are not aware of that. They think cancer, cannabis, anti-nausea.
Seth Research Laboratories in California have recently demonstrated that in some tumors, cancer cells are killed by marijuana, while the other healthy cells are left untouched. Cells that stop moving and become still white dots are dead cancer cells.
why these people who want to do so much good for everyone, who call themselves governments and this and that, why them say you must not use the herb?